welcome to Pink Pony Talk with me, Abby Railton. In this brand new podcast, we'll be understanding horses from an ethical, science-based and connection-focused perspective. We're looking to break some of the stereotypes and traditional ways of thinking about horses, instead trying to understand them for who they are, not what they can do. We'll be speaking with equine professionals who are working to provide their services, knowledge and healing to horses and their owners. We'll also be looking at some of the breakthrough research into horse care, management behaviour, and exploring how this helps us to create happier horses and more harmony between horse and human. New episodes will release every Sunday on Spotify and YouTube, and you can follow us over on Instagram and TikTok at Pink Pony Talk. And I look forward to having you along for the ride. Today we'll be speaking with Bethan Simmonds. Bethan got into horses later in life when she bought her first horse for her daughter, and she now works at a horse rescue centre. We'll be discussing how Bethan navigated first-time horse ownership as someone who didn't grow up with horses, and how she's gone about building relationships with the horses that she works with. So, Bethan Simmonds, welcome to Pink Pony Talk. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for inviting me.
So, first of all, can you tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and your relationship with horses?
Okay, I'm Bethan, and I work at Mini Kids Rescue and have been for just over a year now. My relationship with horses has been very short-lived. I only got into it because my youngest daughter just fell in love with horses and started riding, and then when we purchased our own small holding, begged us for a horse, and so we finally bought one last year.
So what made you start working at a horse rescue centre?
Well, I was actually just looking for an accounting job because I recently trained as a bookkeeper, and then I've been a follower of Mini Kids for a few years now, and I saw the advert pop up, and I just felt like it was meant to be, really. I felt like I could do with learning more before buying a horse for our daughter. I wanted to make sure I knew what to do, how to look after a horse, how to keep them safe, and how to make sure we're doing all the right things. I thought it was a perfect opportunity to learn more, and something that I would really enjoy, and I do.
So what's it like working with rescue horses?
Well, I don't have anything to really compare it to, but I just love it. Initially, I was doing a lot of the mucking out and working around the horses in a different way to some of the other staff. So I would spend a lot of time watching their behaviour on the yard, making sure that I was being careful around them. Some of them can be a bit spooky or a bit scared around the equipment that I was carrying around. And now that I'm actually having the chance to work with them directly, I get to see yet another side to the rescue horses. It's been a privilege, really, to work around them. They're very special animals.
Mm. So how do you think that working around them, so doing the mucking out and the yard jobs, and being in their space for kind of those periods of time, what's that kind of taught you, and what's that experience been like?
It's taught me to read their behaviour. It's taught me that it's taught me about my own body language as well, and how they react to you working in their space. It's taught me, because I am quite an observant person anyway, and watching them interact with each other as well has been really insightful. I think it's just taught me how to understand horses a lot better.
And what kind of approach do you take when you're now working with the horses? And this can be kind of your mindset or your kind of philosophy or any kind of methods. How do you sort of approach working with them?
I don't know if it's got a name, but I just try and read their body language, and try and meet their needs, whatever that may be. That's always at the front of my mind, is making sure that they're happy and feel safe and can thrive. And that's really what I'm about. I don't want to use any methods that are harmful or cruel in any way. I don't want to cause any harm or distress. It's about nurturing them and helping them reach a stage of their life where they feel confident and safe.
Working with at sort of a horse rescue rather than say like a competition yard or even a riding school must have been quite an interesting or really useful way into horses, because you've not got that pressure of being with them for a specific purpose. It's just, like you say, to make them happy, make their days better. And
I'm not having to make them do anything.
Yeah,
which is quite nice. I think a nice way of going into it. I think it also helped me because obviously we purchased our own horse, and actually the horse that we got, he was quite undernourished. He was on the very lean side. He'd been out of work for a while, so he didn't have a lot of muscles. And so actually coming from, it's quite good that I've been in the rescue side, because it's given me a better understanding of how to build that horse up. So that has been really beneficial.
So can you tell us a bit about your horse, Jaffa? A bit about how did you go about finding him being your first horse?
Okay, so we've got Jaffa. He's 8. He's a thoroughbred, chestnut gelding. Since we got him, we get a lot of, a thoroughbred and a chestnut. But we're really lucky because he's very calm. He doesn't run around the field like a loopy-loo. He's pretty chill, which is lovely. Because he was so I spent a lot of time looking at rescues initially. Obviously my daughter, she was 12 when we got Jaffa, so I was very mindful that we needed to get something that was safe for her to ride, although she'd been riding for 5-6 years, and she's a good rider. I didn't want to get something that she would find too challenging. I spoke to friends and neighbours and people I worked with for recommendations of dealers. I didn't want to go privately just because you hear of these sort of people scamming you, drugging the horses up, and because I'm inexperienced, I didn't want to purchase a horse and find that it's been drugged and actually it's got something very wrong with it. So I did get a recommendation from someone and went to a dealer and let them know what we needed, what we were looking for. And she got back to me about this one. My daughter actually tried out a couple of horses, and Jaffa was the one that seemed to be perfect in every way and within our budget as well. We were tied to a budget, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever may the case be. We went to see him, and Emily rode another horse and Jaffa, and Emily's ridden a lot of horses, lots of different horses from lots of different riding stables. So I said to her, how does this horse feel compared to all of the horses you've ridden? And she said the best so far, of all the horses that she'd ridden. And I spoke to the dealer at length, and I said, is it likely we're going to find better than this? And they assured me that we wouldn't find better. We purchased him, took him home a week later. We didn't get the betting done beforehand because he was so lean. We wanted to get him on the grass because he was underweight, and I was concerned that he wasn't doing too well where he was. And then we got the vet to come out and vet him, which all turned out to be okay. So it was very stressful going into it when you don't really know enough. And I think we got quite lucky, really, knowing now what I do. Compared to what I knew last year, we did get lucky. He is a lovely horse.
Yeah, it must have been stressful. I've never owned my own horse. I grew up riding horses. I grew up having horses on loan.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate. I got a lot of experience at my local riding school, and obviously then since I left school I've been working with horses professionally. But even thinking about when I'm going to be buying my own horse one day in the future, I'm even going to be really stressed with all kind of the years of experience and the knowledge. like you say, there are a lot of people that want to pull the wool over your eyes and just get rid of horses, and obviously I will get attached to them as well. I want to bring them all home. So that must have been very stressful.
Yeah, it is really stressful, and you just want to do the right thing, because also when we take animals on, we take them on forever. We're kind of committed. We don't want to. We went in it with the view that even if it was the wrong horse, we would have to keep it, because we made that commitment when we bought it. And I know that's not always how it's done in the horse world, but for us, that's how we wanted to do it. It's a commitment, he's in our lives until,
There's just an amazing way of looking at horses, because there's so many people who don't look at them like that. And I know everyone's obviously got different circumstances. Sometimes it's not possible to keep your horse. But I saw a TikTok just the other day of someone talking about senior horses, in their 20s, 25 or so, being put up for sale, and after years of having a ridden career with someone, and you just think, don't know how someone could do that to their senior horse.
He's going to be ours forever, when he's retired, he'll be retired on our field, and even if we have to move, we'll be ensuring we have enough land to take him with us. And our donkeys and goats. That's we made that commitment. I don't think it's any different to getting dogs. You commit to them, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion, anyway.
Yes, me too. So having Jaffa as your first horse, we've spoken about it previously, but there's a lot of misinformation out there online. There's a lot of conflicting information between different horse people, different trainers and everything. How did you go about navigating all of that?
It's really hard. It's really, really, really hard. Just for example, everyone's like, you've got a thoroughbred. But in our experience, he's been really, I don't want to say easy, but he has been a lovely horse. And I wouldn't say he's an issue in terms of running around and injuring himself. He's been really great. But just navigating all the information, because obviously we own our own horse and we've got our own land. The land management has been quite challenging. I spent hours and hours walking through the field, checking all the trees, the leaves, what kind of grass I've got. And you have to check it regularly as well, because just because something grows one year doesn't mean it's not going to grow the next year. So that's really hard. And then finding out the information about when to move them and when to keep them in the field. I follow some experts that say rotational grazing is the best thing. Some say mob grazing is the best thing. Some say, well, actually, they're going to get less grass in a short space of time if they're on a field that's shorter than if they're going to a field that's really long grass. They're going to fill their tummies a lot quicker in that field. I'm like, well, do we take them off the grass now because it's a bit short? Do we just let them have the movement? And it's really, really hard to know what the right thing is to do. And then there's also the different opinions about spraying or not spraying. Really difficult. Wearing a bit or not wearing a bit. Bareback or not bareback. Shoes or no shoes.
It's endless.
It is endless. And of course diet as well.
So what is your kind of view or opinion on like bits or bareback and shoes, all of that stuff?
I'm of the mindset I would much rather our horse be barefoot, bitless. I just think it's a much kinder, more natural way of bonding with your horse. However, my daughter, she's been very much immersed in the horse world from the age of 7, and that's not how it's done, in her opinion. But having said that, because we're waiting for a saddle to be properly fitted, she is riding bareback because he's a lot happier being bareback at the moment, and because the saddle he's playing with doesn't fit him properly. And and she's actually getting a really good response out of him. So she's riding him without a bridle. Sometimes she'll use the bridle, and sometimes she doesn't, and she gets a really good response from him. He's very relaxed, and it's just lovely to see. I would love him to be barefoot, but I don't know enough to push for it. We've got a lovely farrier. I'm not always entirely sure that he's doing what I want him to be doing to the feet, but again, I don't know enough to say, I'm not sure I'm happy about that. But also, he's a really nice guy.
Okay.
He seems really professional, he seems to know what he's talking about, and he's just a really personable person. So the idea of conflicting methods and having to sort of disagree with someone is quite difficult when you don't know enough. So I think the jury's out on that one at the moment, while I spend more time learning and discovering more about that world. But yeah, future, I would like him to be barefoot. I think it's a more natural way of the foot. At the moment anyway. That's how I feel.
Yeah, it's very tricky to kind of bring up different methods or different opinions with kind of equine professionals, especially when, like you say, you don't feel you've got kind of the knowledge yet of that to
exactly
to kind of back up your argument. Yeah,
it is really
tricky.
hard. It's mind-boggling how much information is out there.
Yeah.
And as someone who's not been brought up around it and not being submerged into that world of riding at all whatsoever, it is quite tricky to navigate it and work out who's right. I don't know if there's necessarily a right way of doing it. Maybe it's more doing what's right for the individual horse.
I agree with that.
Yeah, rather than having a blanket rule for all of them, maybe it's actually should be a bit more holistic.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think a few years ago I was really wanting to kind of search for a specific method to use.
Yeah.
So it started when I kind of found like clicker training with horses.
Yeah.
I was like mind blowing, so I was like, that's so cool. I've never ever would have thought of that, and these people were teaching their horses amazing things through it, and I thought, what an amazing thing. And then actually putting it into practice didn't quite sit right for me. It's loads of treats all the time, and it's constantly trying to reinforce behaviours and things, and I just didn't really feel like a very natural way of being with them, even though it was meant to kind of be a positive thing. For me, it didn't really feel I couldn't really be there in the moment with them, because I was constantly looking for the correct behaviour. And yeah, I sort of was like, I don't know how I'm going to work with horses, but I think for me, I've sort of figured out that it's learning as much as you can, and like even if there's methods that you don't particularly agree with, you might still have a horse one day that one tiny thing from that you can take and then apply to that horse. I think it's, like you say, it's just the individual and kind of
definitely
having that kind of wealth of knowledge to be able to apply to whatever horse is in front of you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Jaffa, he's very treat orientated, which I think is to his detriment. Because as soon as you produce a treat, you completely lose his focus, because he just wants the treats now. So we don't use the treats when we are wanting certain behaviour from him. We use treats after we've had the behaviour and we've had a nice time, or just because it's a nice thing to treat sometimes, but we don't do it every time. Sometimes they don't come out for a week, and he's so much better doing it that way than if we have it available all the time and use it to reinforce behaviours, because it just became about pushing the treat all the time.
Yeah, and then your relationship kind of becomes about the treat rather than about your relationship with them.
Yes. We don't do that anymore, and it's definitely worked out a lot better.
So you mentioned working with the rescue horses at work. It's taught you about yourself and kind of your body language. What has Jaffa taught you?
He's taught me that I am quite an anxious person, actually, which I hadn't really appreciated until, you're walking the horse up the field and I can feel my heart rate's going like crazy because I'm nervous he's going to be an idiot, or, this was back in the early days when we first got him. I stressed about absolutely everything. I stressed that he was going to get colic. I stressed that he was going to eat the wrong thing. I stressed about him falling over. I stressed about absolutely everything. The first couple of weeks was just so stressful. And then I realised that if I was stressed, it was going to make him stressed. I had to learn how to sort of calm myself down and get myself into a better state of mind.
So how have you found that you've been able to calm yourself? What's that kind of looks like? Have you found a method, or how's that kind of
just deep breathing and just telling myself, it is going to be all right. We've done this lots of times. He's still alive. He's fine. He's not. And like if I'm thinking about colic, I'll go through the mental checklist of the signs of colic. He's fine. He's fine. And I just kind of talk myself through it really. I don't feel like that so much now. I'm definitely a lot better than when we first got him.
Is that something that has kind of translated like wider into your wider life, or is that mostly just to do with the animals?
It's definitely translated into, because it's made me realise other situations I've gotten anxious about. I'm like, oh. And then, I'm like, don't go, it's fine, and talk myself through it.
Yeah. So can you tell me a bit about Jaffa and your daughter's relationship?
Yeah, so one of the things that I made sure that I did was not do too much with Jaffa, because I didn't want to be the one bonding with him. Because obviously being the parent and being the adult, I've got certain responsibilities that I need to take on. I couldn't expect a 12-year-old last year to be taking on. But at the same time, I didn't want to interfere with their relationship. So I did kind of take a back step and try to encourage her to do certain things, like, if she was worried about colic, I would get her to get the, what's it called?
Stethoscope.
The stethoscope. And I talk her through it. So instead of me doing it and taking over and checking him over, I would teach her how to do it herself. So I kind of done that from the very beginning, taught her how to do, she knew how to do the grooming anyway, and all the feed, and she just took all of it on. And Jaffa knows that she is his owner, rider, person. And he's very close with her actually. She goes into the field, he's walking around after her and follows her around, and it is really lovely to see. And he's a lovely horse. He's not like super cuddly, but with her he is more affectionate with her. He's just really gentle around her, and they've just got such a lovely relationship. The other thing with them is I can tell from Jaffa's behaviour how Emily's feeling. Emily's quite a closed book. It's quite difficult to read her. But Jaffa, if he starts being a bit, I don't know how to describe it, you can just tell there's something off with him. I know it's because Emily's nervous. And then he's very in tune with her. But also, if she doesn't want to do something, he doesn't want to do something. If she's really excited about it, he gets really excited about it. So she's had to learn how to kind of not rein her emotions in, but kind of understand them and, recognise that her emotions do have an impact on him, especially when she couldn't care less about certain jobs. That he will take that on, and then he's like, I don't want to do this either. And he starts being difficult. And I tried to say to her, it's because you don't want to do it. He knows that, so he doesn't want to do it. So she's had to really sort of, okay, right, we're going to do this now, and be a bit more enthusiastic sometimes. And it works.
Wow, what an amazing lesson to teach.
Yeah.
To teach her as well. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's been so much easier to teach it through Jaffa than it would be, because they don't listen to your mum. Mum knows nothing. It's been quite nice that actually I'll say something that Jaffa's doing something because of this and this. She won't believe me, and then she'll spend some time with him and try it the other way, and say, "Oh yeah, I think you're right, isn't it? That's funny." But yeah, they do have a lovely relationship. It's really nice to see.
It's so interesting how the horses end up kind of reflecting or mirroring what the person's feeling. When I did my equine facilitated coaching training, that's kind of what the whole training was kind of based on, is this idea that you have a person who's kind of, whether they're in emotional turmoil or going through something really hard or have really struggling with their mental health, spending that time with the horses and then just kind of bringing up when observing the horse's behaviour and kind of bringing it then back to the person is such an incredible, it's such a magical thing, because it's literally just right there in front of you, in the horse. They're such amazing animals in that way.
They are, yeah.
So before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you about your other animals. So you mentioned you've got goats, you've got donkeys.
Yeah, I've got 2 dogs, I've got 2 donkeys, and I've got 4 goats.
4 goats, I bet that's chaos.
You know what? It's not actually that bad, but this is kind of going back to knowing what the right thing is to do and different methods and everything. We got 2 fields. One is about 4 acres and one's about 2 acres, and at the moment they have access to both fields. Now I know that I should be closing one of them off to let it rest, but the grass is growing quite rapidly at the moment. They've got lots of grass, but because they're all in there together and they've all herded up, the goats don't want to leave the donkeys don't want to leave the goats, the donkeys don't want to leave Jaffa, and Jaffa will not leave the donkeys. So they just walk around the field in it's almost like a figure of 8 track that they made for themselves, and they'll just track around the field, foraging, eating grass, and living life and having a lovely old time. The goats don't really, they do occasionally hop over the fence to our next door neighbour's field.
Oh really?
But they're mostly eating our trees, just the overhang. But they always hop back over and go back with the herd. It's quite cute. And the donkeys will wait along the fence line for them to come back. It's very sweet. And we've got cows next door, and they herd up with cows and sleep on either side of the fence with the cows sometimes. It's bizarre.
Wow. Sounds like an animal paradise.
It is really, it's quite surreal when we have visitors come and they come up to the field. The herd will just herd around the visitors, and they'll walk along the land, and they'll just herd around the visitors, having cuddles and scratches, and it's really quite magical when you get to do that with them. If I go up in the daytime and I sit down on the field, they'll just come and sit down around me and have a lay down and a little snooze. It's very, it's magical. I love it. It's really nice.
That's amazing. It sounds like a dream.
It is. It's really, really nice. And we just want to get another horse now.
So, final question then.
Yeah.
If you had one piece of advice for someone who was going to be a first-time horse owner, what would it be?
Research what you're doing. Don't go into it without having some sort of understanding. If I hadn't got the job at Many Tears, I would have felt so much more worried about what we were taking on. Having the experience of working with the horses beforehand really put me onto a good start. If I hadn't done that, I don't think it would have been as successful. But yeah, research, ask people, ask questions, and be prepared to get things wrong. Not awfully wrong, obviously, but it's okay to make the occasional mistake. It's okay to ask people and say, I don't think this is right, what do I do here? And I say research and ask questions. Make sure you know what you're getting in for, because it is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot more than you think.
It's a hell of a lot more than you think, especially if you've got your own land. If you're, if you've got livery or something, it's probably a lot easier because you've got people there on hand to ask. You've got their experience and they're looking after the land, whereas when it's on your own land, you've got a lot more responsibility. You've got to make sure the fencing is safe and make sure the plants are safe and the grass is the right kind of grass. All of that stuff and the worming to do, and it's a lot. Make sure the food is right. We got the food wrong to start with.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We were recommended a certain type of food, and he started getting a bit spooky.
Oh.
And I said, I wonder if it's because the food is too, giving him too much energy. So we went back to the Wednesday and just spent ages speaking to them and saying what we needed from the food and what kind of horse he is. And they gave some amazing advice, and now we're on a feed that gives him the nutrition and the energy, but is a calming food, and he's like a trained horse. So yeah, research. And if you think something's not right, act upon it.
Great, thank you so much, Bethan.
Oh, thank you for having me.